politics and precious metals, currency and current events, and from Bitcoin to banksters, this is the Wise Wolf Gold and Crypto Show. Now, here are your hosts, Tony Arterburn and Kenzie.
Wow. Let's go.
I told you. We were going live, and then all of a sudden I hear this background noise, and I'm like, I think Kenzie just unzipped a body bag.
Okay, it's not that dramatic. It's just my coat.
Hey, folks. This is the Wise Wolf Gold and Crypto Show. Welcome. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Tony Arterburn, broadcasting from the Wise Wolf Gold and Silver.com studios in beautiful Branson, Missouri, where the weather changes by the hour. We never know if it's going to be a dark winter or a sunny spring day. We never know. But today it's kind of half and half, and I'll take it. It's the 23rd of February, 2023. I'm joined by my co-host. Or what are we doing here? We're doing a podcast with the great Kenzie. Well, what are my descriptors for you? The Slayer of Normalcy Bias.
Yeah.
One of them. What other ones did I have for you? I'll have to get back to you. I know that I have more nicknames for Kenzie. I'll come up with them later in the show. But welcome to your own show, Kenzie.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that.
It's good to see your wolf avatar.
Yeah, well, we are off grid, and there's like clothes hanging and drying in the background. I've got like these horseshoe things that are in the wall, and they're perfect for getting some Home Depot rope and tying a rope from wall to wall in your home and hanging your clothes because it's raining outside.
Very practical.
Very, very redneck.
We'll have to talk sometime on the podcast. Those who don't follow you on Instagram or on your TikTok that you've been setting up for your dog, Leviticus. She has an amazing dog. I've yet to meet this dog. But he's certainly welcome at the shop when Beans isn't here.
That was going to be a conversation for off the podcast. I was told today, because I know how Beans is, it's probably not a good idea for them to be around each other. Just to throw that out there. Because Beans is so small and Beans is so brave. But Beans being a mixture of that small and brave is scary.
Beans there's no dog so big she won't fight. And
I have a good feeling she has taken down some of the coyotes in your area. I truly believe it.
With her mind. And that's what's really disturbing is Beans can do it with her mind, ladies and gentlemen. She's that powerful. She has that much chi. All right. So well, this is the show where we talk about politics and precious metals, markets and the monetary system, wealth and warfare, banksters and Bitcoin. So, Kenzie, I'm letting you choose from the buffet of info today. What do you want to jump into? What's your stories? You want me to pull up one of the links that you sent?
I will actually want to start with the CBDC thing that you found.
Okay. Yeah, I talked about this, broke some news today on the David Knight Show, my weekly Thursday appearance with the great David Knight. And I asked him off when we were before we went live. I said, hey, did you see that story? He says, I haven't seen that yet because it just came out. I was making sure that I didn't just repeat something he already said. But there's a bill in Congress. Let me pull it up. This is the link that's on Zero Hedge. U.S. legislators introduced a bill that would prohibit the creation of an American CBDC, a central bank digital currency. U.S. Congressman Tom Emmer, Republican from Minnesota, has introduced a bill that would prohibit the Federal Reserve from issuing a CBDC directly to anyone. The bill, titled the CBDC Anti-Surveillance State Act, details that, except as specifically authorized under this act, a Federal Reserve Bank may not produce or service directly to an individual or maintain an account on behalf of an individual or issue a central bank digital currency directly to an individual. It goes on to further detail specifically that the Board of Governors at the Federal Reserve System and the Federal Open Market Committee may use any central bank digital currency to implement monetary policy. May not use. So this is a bill that's prohibiting the creation to an individual by the Federal Reserve of a central bank digital currency. This is good news. It doesn't really stand a chance of passing, but this congressman, Tom Emmer from Minnesota, is the majority whip. So that's not nothing. He has a leadership role in Congress. And I'm glad that this is finally making some sort of mainstream, because it was just the silence has been deafening from anybody in Washington, D.C. on this stuff.
Yeah. I might have an opinion that could make it more nefarious, though.
Okay.
What if, because it's basically just like the Federal Reserve isn't allowed to create this, or it can't be made just for the U.S. What if that just pushes you into the global CBDC? So, because America needs to come back down a peg, right? So we can't produce that CBDC for the world. But if we had enough nations come together and say, this is the country that we're all going to use, then we're prevented of even, I do not like the idea of a CBDC at all. But I would hope that countries at least have the option to create their own and not just be thrown into some kind of pool where you all have to follow these same rules and regulations, and probably social credit scores, everything that comes with that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm skeptical of any of this language, because the only time I've heard of Congress talking about the CBDC was indirectly through a third person, which would be like there'd be a newspaper article out that says members of Congress, not naming anyone, are asking the Federal Reserve, to make a central bank digital currency, because we've got to compete with China with their surveillance state, or we got to do what the World Economic Forum wants us to do, or the IMF, or the World Bank, or the Bank of International Settlements, or whatever, right? This is, we know where this is coming from. Digitized blockchain currency distributed from the central bank to be able to control the contraction and the suspension of currency, the expansion and contraction of the currency itself in real time through the blockchain. That's one, and again, it's surveillance disguised as money, which is what central bank digital currency is. Garbage. They tried it, and trying it in Nigeria, which I find hilarious, and the Nigerian people just completely just said, no, we don't want anything to do with this. We've got gold and we've got Bitcoin. So that failed in Nigeria, which I was happy to see. But you may be right. It may be something, and we always have to look at the angle, what wasn't said. Here's, I'll read on a little bit more into the article. Rep. Emmer explained in his tweet announcing that any digital version of the dollar must uphold our American values of privacy, individual sovereignty, and free market competitiveness. Anything less opens the door to a development of a dangerous surveillance tool. The bill.
That's true.
Yeah, it does. Well, I mean, I love this. This is good. I'm always skeptical if somebody in Washington's doing anything that's helping.
Yeah. Well, the thing is like, even if he's doing something that he thinks is really good and for the people, it's like, well, who's pushing him to do this, or what reason might they have to hype him up to put this out there, right? Because anybody could have put it out there, but it's got to be him in this moment.
Yeah, several representatives involved in the bill have also voiced their support for Rep. Barry Loudmilks. Released a statement saying he was proud to join forces with Rep. Emmer on legislation to keep the Fed from issuing a central bank digital currency. The Fed should be focused on its more core mission of stable prices and max employment, not tracking our transactions indefinitely. Well, the Fed is not federal. It's as federal as Federal Express. And I would say, but it has taken over. I mean, it's hard to understand or see where our Treasury begins and the Fed ends, and vice versa. I think they're pretty much one thing now. We're a wholly owned subsidiary of unknown international banking cartels for the most part. So this is going to be interesting, because you've got to know that to get to be a majority whip in the House of Representatives, you have lots of donors, you have lots of backers, and those things touch, like, the multinational corporations, especially with things like ESG, environmental social governance, through BlackRock and these other woke communist style directives that come from international capital. I know that sounds kind of like an oxymoron, but that's, if you know your history, you know that communism and socialism are always funded by the people with the most money or the most funds and the most wealth at the time. And anyway, it's going to be interesting. I like that there's been an opening salvo. I'll take it, and we'll see where it goes. I'm glad you wanted to learn about that. I mean, and we'll keep people apprised of the situation. I'm sure more will come of this. Any closing thoughts on the central bank digital currency bill?
No, we just need to watch it and keep up with it, see what happens. What are you drinking?
It's
Like, you never drink anything from a can, so I'm just blown away right now.
Well, I've had, like, I got up this morning and I had coffee because I got up really early and I was going to do the David Knight show. I ran out of coffee and I drank tea on the David Knight show, and then I drank another tea, and I'm like, I can't make another hot drink. It's like 3:30. So I went and got a little caffeine thing from the health food store downstairs. So I'm glad you noticed that.
Yeah, weird.
Were you thinking it was booze or something? Were you thinking?
No, definitely. No.
I wouldn't do that on a podcast.
I mean, feel free to, but no.
Not on our show. I mean, there's too many technicals and I have to read too many articles. So maybe like an after hours thing, I'll grab something, but we try to be pretty informal, but also have a smart show. So what do you want to jump to? You've got a smorgasbord of stuff we can do. You want to talk about crypto in Hong Kong?
Yeah, I guess we kind of started with the CBDC, so we'll roll into the cryptos.
A good segment.
We'll do that.
All
yeah.
Right. This is CoinDesk.com, sent to me by Kenzie. Crypto in Hong Kong getting soft backing from Beijing. So China, just when they think that you're out, they're pulling you back in. China. This is, I think, it's funny. Geopolitics is a lot of language. And the Chinese have changed a lot of their stances in the last year or so because of sanctions on Russia by the United States since the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. And you can see more and more China going its own way, and of course, Nancy Pelosi landing in Taiwan. So you see the Chinese they're reversing some decisions. Reports say officials from China's liaison office have been spotted at crypto events in the city as Hong Kong prepares for a consultation process that might eventually legalize a form of retail crypto trading in the territory. Bloomberg reports the mainland government in Beijing might be subtly endorsing the idea, which again, there's been a total ban there. According to Bloomberg, officials from China's liaison office have been frequent guests at crypto gatherings in Hong Kong. Their tone of their visits and follow-up calls with certain projects have been friendly. I don't know. That's interesting.
Right? Because forever people have been screaming, and they tend to be very anti-crypto, but they talk about how, oh, well, this country's going to ban it or these people banned it. And look, now they can't do any. Guys, it's never really hurt the cost of cryptos, as in the retail value and what it trades for. That's never really hurt anything. And it just goes to show you where China typically can enforce just about anything that they want. This is a you can't beat them, join them situation where they could not enforce and regulate the kinds of crypto laws that they were putting into place. Did people move their miners elsewhere? Yes, they did. But it's very incentivizing because I believe in Hong Kong, there's either no tax on that or a very low tax on that, very incentivizing for people to come in. It really puts wealth into a centralized location as well. And with everything going on across the world today, it's pretty important to either invite or create wealth within your country, because with the kinds of tensions that we're going to have, they're going to need the backing of some people and some serious money coming in as well.
Yeah, they don't want to be left out. I mean, the 21st century, because of groups like the Trilateral Commission and other multinational groups, Council on Foreign Relations, internationalists in general, have been pivoting towards Asia since the 1970s when America was told that we're going to dismantle you. And that's really what went on. I mean, we took away the manufacturing. We took the United States off the gold standard. We started to siphon off the wealth, and it was kind of a sleight of hand. So I think China's recognizing its own role in that, even though we gave them everything.
Yeah.
Russia's another example of this. If you read the tea leaves too, it had a reversal
Yeah.
of crypto. So that maybe they want to control that sphere. The enemy, I think, the thing is, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And these countries and the BRICS nations know that dollar supremacy is really being challenged right now. So the more you can pile onto that unregulated crypto, the crypto as God intended, is supposed to challenge the dollar. It's not supposed to be regulated by Wall Street and the SEC and the bankster class or politicians who don't understand anything about currency except how to spend yours. I think that's something that piles on. It gives another challenge to the dollar. So in my opinion, it would be smart. It would behoove these countries to continue innovation and to continue investment into the crypto sphere, because it does challenge the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah, that's kind of what's going on here. It's a faster, easier way to just send funds when they need to be sent. And cutting down cost on that has been a huge thing the past couple of years too. It's much easier now, a little more effective to be able to send it, and the cost breakdown actually makes a little bit more sense. So this is just something where, like, I'm not a huge crypto fan, and I don't scream from the mountaintops for anybody to buy it. But, being diversified, I think, is so important today. And just the fact that literally with cryptocurrency, I can liquidate almost everything that I have, put it onto a wallet, and literally carry this stuff, Tony, either on a piece of paper or something as small as like my pinky. And if that means that Kenzie needs to get out of Dodge and like go to South America or something, it doesn't matter if it's $10 or $10 million. That can literally be held on a little device smaller than my pinky, and I can cross borders without, how am I going to carry that much gold? I love gold, but for real, I would probably liquidate here, and then wherever I go, I could buy it again.
Right.
I just need to maintain that wealth as I'm transferring over, and nobody stop you from doing so.
Yeah, I've kind of pulled back from you guys know we've done this show for almost 2 years now. So I've told people I own a little bit of crypto. I buy some select coins, especially the privacy coins. I've liked Monero. I've liked things like Pirate Chain. Sold off most of my holdings through the last year and a half, and I just slowly just go into Bitcoin maximalist. That's where I'm at right now. It doesn't mean that I don't support the entire sphere, but I do trust Bitcoin in a way that I don't look at the other coins. And I know they have so many great features to it that I'm not, this isn't a sales pitch for Bitcoin, but that's where I'm at. I'm not that sophisticated of a crypto guy, even though I like to learn about it. And I do think there's so much going to happen there in that sphere. But like you said, I buy a little bit of Bitcoin. I diversify. I think it's good. I love the technology. I like, if I needed to, I could take everything and put it on a thumb drive, or put it on even a hard wallet or whatever, and just get it on a plane and go,
And go.
And and it's universal. Bitcoin is becoming a lot like gold and silver are, and especially gold. You can go into remote places in the world. And I think I've told this story many times, but just this example of I've listened to gold traders and miners talk about this, but you go into like places where there's almost no communication, but the people mining the gold know what spot is right then. Right. Yeah. They're not going to, you can't go in there and get a discount because you went in. Robert Kiyosaki always tells that story about flying behind enemy lines in a helicopter in Vietnam, because he was a helicopter pilot. And he was like, I'm going to go get some gold after Nixon took us off of the gold standard. He didn't even know what he was doing. And he met this like really old lady who was like, I think they chew some kind of like root thing. And she had like red teeth. And he was like, I'll give you, such and such for that ounce of gold. And she's like, spot. She knew exactly what spot was, like in the middle of behind enemy lines in the 70s. So I think, that's something that you look in Nigeria, one Bitcoin's worth like $36,000 because of the scarcity of Bitcoin, because people are using it more than they are. They can't even get into their own banks. There's a problem with they've tried the CBDC, and then the paper currency tanked.
Well, it's too dangerous of an area where a lot of people down there, they believe in gold and silver, but it's also too dangerous of an area, too many political factors and dangers to where it is smarter for them at least, to hold cryptocurrencies. And the fact that they reject what the state tries to throw on them and continue to use what is, perceived as an open market sort of deal. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I do too. And we always talk about crypto. I mean, it's part of our show title. We have to.
You have to.
Let's see. I'm looking at all the different links, and we only got a couple more stories to cover. We have a little shorter show today because it's just been a crazy week. We've got Wolfpack, and we'll give you some updates on that. Oh, you sent me. Oh, yeah, you got two good stories. Let's do the gold first. This was on Kitco, and I wanted to run this by you. Gold ticket to 2000 is U.S. recession, and it's looking more likely, says Bloomberg Intelligence. Now, don't get mad at me for putting the word intelligence and Bloomberg in the same sentence. I didn't do that. Kitco did. But you always like to see what some of these outlets and their intelligence sources are saying. And, you know, I've looked at even BlackRock has certain, I think some of their intelligence is pretty good when they're talking about, you know, they even said, BlackRock said in the last 6 months, they said nothing, the things that have worked in the past won't work in the future for fixing the economy or reinflating the bubble. And that's because how so much damage has been done. So I listen to stuff like that. This is on Kitco. And they said gold's best chance to get to 2000 announced this year is for the U.S. economy to fall into a recession. And that scenario is more likely due to the Federal Reserve's stance, according to Bloomberg Intelligence March outlook. Surprisingly strong economic indicators at the start of the year were not convincing enough for some analysts to immediately rule out a recession. And markets got spooked by the solid employment, stubborn inflation, and the robust retail sales and PMI data from January. The fear is higher for longer interest rates and the Fed reverting back to a 50 basis points hikes. So this is basically saying that the recession pushes gold to 2000 an ounce. This is a tricky subject because one, we're not an investing show, but I will share some of the insight that I, as a gold dealer, and some of the things I've seen in my time when it comes to recessions and economic downturn and stock market problems. Gold sometimes goes with it temporarily. If you look at 2020, we had the highest stock rally we've ever had, and then the next week it was the lowest since 1929, the biggest one-day crash. Gold at that time went down to about $1,200 an ounce, maybe lower. And I will tell you that the weird thing about that is that there was no gold for sale at $1,200 an ounce. It's just that's what they said was the spot price. So there was you couldn't find any. People wanted to buy gold, and I'm like, I can't get that at $1,200. There was a premium about $150 or at least. And then the silver went to $11 an ounce. Same
and
thing.
it just was not there.
There's just nothing to buy. Yeah. So they can say it all they want. Now, that's always my warning to people, because you'll see gold going up and hitting times when the stock market's doing well. So those kind of things flow together, you know, based off of just demand. And again, it can be confusing. It's like, well, how much strength is in there? How well is the dollar doing? All that. So that is another factor. But I would say that I think the price fluctuation is really based on a bad model, because people are trying to say, well, how much is gold going to go up? And I don't think gold is going up.
Like, how much further can your dollar go down?
That's the issue.
Ask yourself that.
Right. I just don't think that people understand the devaluation that's happened. Yeah,
they don't. You should just put a giant poster of like the wheelbarrow kids and the cash, and just what's happened recently in like Venezuela and other areas.
The reason that we're not the Weimar Republic in Germany in the late 20s and early 30s is because they weren't the world's reserve currency. I mean, this is the Ponzi scheme has to have people constantly buying into it, and I told this story today on David Knight, was talking about how they had pallets of $100 bills in Iraq when we invaded. I mean, they had, warehouses full. I mean, Saddam Hussein was stacking the petrodollar. You fast forward to today's news, and what are the Iraqis doing? They're converting to the yuan. They're going away from the dollar. So many people. I mean, this is huge news. But again, the financial wizards on TV, they don't seem to think that matters. It matters big time because the dollar has had this supremacy of being the petrodollar and the world's reserve currency. That is being challenged, and that is going away, and it's going to cause a revaluation like we've never seen before. I don't think historically we'll have ever seen anything quite like this.
Yeah,
because
well,
every country on earth has it.
I thought about it the other day because I was listening to like Fox Business or something on my way to somewhere, and well, I don't remember what the reporter lady said, but it was just a big face slap for me. Like it was just that feeling, and I really started to think about it, Tony. A lot of these people might have biased opinions or really might not know what's going on because these people do not have to check their bank accounts. That is the kind of money that they are making. They can swipe a card, pay for anything, put their kid in private school. If they want to go buy a brand new Benz off the lot today, they don't even have to think about it. They shop in stores. This is how you know they're on another level. They shop in stores where the price is not on the item of clothing. Okay? Like they do not have to think about it. Whereas us everyday people, we need to do budgeting and finance, and I don't have a team of 8 different people to help me out with it, right? It's just me looking at what's in there now. So they're not going to see it until it's really bad.
Yeah, well said.
Really bad.
I think you're right about that. I mean, there's the ruling class. They're divorced of our struggles and what we go through and what's happening in real America or the real economy and the consequences of. I mean, you look at somebody like a Mitt Romney with Bain Capital and just buying up things and breaking them up. The guy never made anything. He never really created anything. It just shuffled things around and floated through. I mean, that's the difference between like a real entrepreneur and somebody who's like, buying things, making things, building things, and somebody
That's
like
literally why the economy looks like it could be doing half decent. I mean, it doesn't get talked about enough, but those repo rates for bank to bank lending, it's still what, like 2 trillion? It's either a day or a week. Either way, 2 trillion is a lot of money to be just tossed around every single day. And this is keeping them propped up. It's keeping from one to fall, and then the next day you can move one to another bank so it doesn't fall. And it's just kind of playing musical chairs with the amount of debt that we have and throwing money into something that doesn't even have much value just to keep stocks propped up. And this amount of money that is just moving around like a tsunami at the moment, it's going to become something that is very, very dangerous. Very dangerous.
Oh, I agree. And again, the consequences, we've never seen anything. The wealth concentrations are so large, and not necessarily anything wrong with that, but historically, that always has some sort of release valve. It always has something that there's a spark that initiates some sort of, the political and socioeconomic upheavals that create the redistribution of wealth. And again, I think governments and the planners try to head that off. I think they create fake problems in a Hegelian dialectic. If you guys want to look into conspiracy issues, that's exactly where that comes from. They create the reality to stave off those wealth concentrations. So, and the redistribution. So that's why I think normalcy bias, and I tell everybody, Kinsey's the slayer of normalcy bias. There's a reason I bring that up, because you don't want to.
Still don't have a samurai sword though.
We got to get you one of those outfits from Kill Bill, and you can do like a.
Oh heck yeah, yes.
We'll get one of those, and Uma Thurman, right? Uma.
I think so.
That's Uma Thurman. Let's check out. This is one of the last 2 stories that Kinsey sent over, and it's investing.com. Could gold and silver go parabolic in 2023? This is a few gold headlines. Gold prices hit a record high in Japan. China steps up its gold imports in 2022. Swiss gold imports at a 4-year high. Russia gold imports rise. Swiss pension fund increases exposure to gold.
That's good.
Yeah, these are a few gold headlines here. And of course, this is Michelle Schneider over at investing.com. Just asking the question, could gold and silver go parabolic? Now, explain parabolic to the audience, Kinsey. I think you probably do better than me.
I think just hitting certain price points. I think that they mentioned what, like 3,500 to 5,000 an ounce by X date. I hate the idea of hitting a number by a certain date, everybody. Like, don't go and just spend everything that you have today because some random lady on the internet said this. But parabolic would be just huge price increases in a very short amount of time. And whenever I talk about the dangerous moves that the banks are making for our economy and how they're trying to put the blinders on everyone, we kind of have this situation where, there has been a little bit more demand for gold and silver. But once you really start to see the everyday retail trader kind of FOMO into this, then we have a really big problem. And what, Tony, if we hit like, please tell me I haven't just done too many numbers today. I stepped away earlier from doing too many numbers today. But if we did hit like 3,500 an ounce by sometime in 2024, is that like a, guys, I'm doing math in my head. Is that like a 90%
Yeah.
increase in a very short amount of time? So that's what that tells me, is they think that we could see days where gold is up 20% or more just in a day. And you can get to this point very, very quickly. And that's if they don't turn trading off, which would be kind of interesting. And 5,000, that's like 100 and some 150-ish.
That's exactly a 90%.
Okay.
Your first number. I just did the math.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, so you're getting that close in that short amount of time. I think that that's what they would mean by parabolic. If it took us 20 years to get there, that's very slow, and gold would have stopped keeping up at that point. But we know how low the dollar is, and more of these countries moving off of it is pretty concerning. The amount of debt that we have just flowing out there. Like, please, if you've got a high credit card bill, that's like the first thing that you should just go and pay off right now, and be very careful at the moment when you're exposing yourself to debt, and always thoroughly read those contracts as well. It's the most dangerous situation that you can be in right now, I think, is revolving credit card debt and having a car that you just cannot afford.
Agreed.
That's a fast downward cycle for a lot of people.
It says, with current macroeconomic and geopolitical conditions such as they are, 2023 is even more bullish for metals than it was 5 decades ago, and silver is not far behind. Retail investors have yet to load up on precious metals. Most are trained to buy equities and know little about commodities. Right now, retail investors sway bullish on stocks. Once metals gain more of the retail trader's attention, can I get a parabolic, she asks. And she spells it out in capital letters with a dash.
I love that.
So,
I mean, and that's probably why, you remember last week whenever you brought up the fact that, like, oh, there's this much silver demand, the economy's doing great. All right, so yeah, it's being used in this new green energy sector. Silver is always being used somewhere electronically. But is there the chance that the everyday person is maybe buying silver because it is the poor man's gold? We can't all go out there and buy 5 ounces of gold at a time like some of these people can. That's insane. I know I can't. That's why I buy fractional stuff.
right.
But silver, that's easy for me to obtain within the budget that I have. And it is looked at, as a currency. This does have monetary value. And, the media can play this up however they want. But I think that there has been an uptick in the retail trader, trying to hedge their bets and secure themselves somewhere.
Oh, it would just seem natural. If you know economics and you know history a little bit, then you understand that something's on the horizon and things aren't the way that they were. And betting on that is a really bad bet. Speaking of that, silver is the new black. This is the title on Yahoo Finance, ladies and gentlemen. Silver is the new black. Demand for silver jewelry is at historic high. Silver record demand across all major industries, including jewelry, despite investors' continue avoidance of the precious metal. It's funny because it's almost like this magic trick where they did a misdirection some years ago where people just stay. I hear traders talk about this all the time. I'm done with silver. Silver's not going anywhere. And I keep thinking maybe that's exactly what the big buyers want you to think. They're just accumulating, right? I think we're seeing a giant shift in what silver is going to be seen as, especially with the gold silver ratio. But anyway, I'll read on. A record 235 million ounces of jewelry has been purchased globally this year, up 29% from the previous year, according to Metals Focus' most recent global silver report. The global demand for silver was projected to reach a record high of 1.12 billion ounces, 340 million kilograms in 2022, according to the Silver Institute, a marketing organization supported by the silver industry. Silver demand continues to rise. Investors are paying closer attention to junior silver exploration companies. And this is all pointing towards a bull run for silver. What do you think?
Don't you love how, like, you know, once you get to the point where you're kind of like finished reading, they're like, oh, look at these junior miners, where it's like a coin flip on whether you're gonna succeed or not in that world. Just buy physical silver. Just it's that easy. And I kind of actually threw this in here because, you know, ladies have a love for jewelry, and a lot of men out there like to buy their ladies something nice. I think that because of the financial struggle that a lot of people are facing, but you still want to do something nice, or you want to look nice for yourself and get yourself a treat, I can see that being enough just to push the demand for silver up. Because people are starting to realize that they are paying way too much for these diamonds that have, like, you know, somebody can put whatever value that they want to on them. And yes, I get diamonds are weird. I'll just quickly interrupt with that for a second. Yeah, a ton of them get pulled out of the ground every single year. A majority of them are actually used for tools and things like that. And these are the really ugly ones that are not perfect. The ones that go in your ladies' jewelry tend to be very, very pretty. I'm not going to say absolutely flawless. The only flawless diamonds that are out there are the artificial ones. That's kind of how you know that you have a man-made one. Right. But as far as going back to gold, I mean, gold, silver, platinum, palladium, all of these things are used in jewelry daily. The issue here is maybe we can't afford the gold, platinum, or palladium, and we need to go to the silver. Right. Or are they trying to push more silver onto the market because maybe there's actually a scarcity in buying this raw gold, platinum, or palladium for the jewelry? I'm not sure.
Possible. I mean, the World Gold Council, and we read this 2 weeks ago or so, that the silver demand was down, but central banks buying it is massively up. You
Massive,
know,
yes.
the central banks are buying it, but people aren't really doing it as much. I mean, it's down like, I want to say like 19% on the gold side. So it could be an affordability issue. And I've seen reports on a couple of different silver companies coming into business and buying, you know, making silver jewelry. So that's like an uptick of something that is new, and pushing that onto the market.
It is. I'm actually really happy to see that. I still think the premium is a little bit high for me, but there's a company out there, I think it's called Monet, and they do the 24 karat gold. You know me, like, I don't wear anything but 24 karat gold, which is so hard to find. And then a lot of these companies actually show up on my Instagram for the silver jewelry makers, and they're not doing sterling. They're doing 999 or 49 fine silver. And I love that, because if you're going to be having to pay a premium on something anyway, why would I pay up for that on like some 10 karat gold? Or, I mean, sterling is fine, but still, like, I don't want to pay that insane premium on a sterling piece of silver.
I get it. Yeah, I mean, there's probably gonna be a lot more options in that too. And right now it's just cheap. Well, do you want to plug anything before we close out the show?
Well, like you said earlier, all I really do on my Instagram now is share videos of Leviticus at puppy school. So that's, but I do have Twitter, Kenzie, aka Fringe, on Twitter. Is it Fringe, aka Kenzie? One of the two. And Wise Wolf Gold on Twitter. I haven't done much over there, but I do think that there is a little special sale coming up on the Twitter here soon.
Yeah, go subscribe on Twitter at Wise Wolf Gold, and find us on Instagram at Wise Wolf Gold, and find us on Facebook at Wise Wolf Gold. I locked those things down a while ago, and then more to come in the realm of social media as soon as I have 5 minutes, and I'll start constructing more stuff. But we were trying to put these shows together on Thursday, and I do have some other stuff I want to add to the feed. So please subscribe to the podcast channel, the RSS feed, anywhere podcasts are served up. The Wise Wolf Gold and Crypto Show, of course, brought to you by WiseWolfGoldandSilver.com. If you go there and you email us, you're going to talk to Kinsey. You're going to talk to me, most likely Kinsey. I'll put her on that. What else? We have Wolfpack.
We do have Wolfpack, which is definitely something that you might want to look into, being that they got a steal of a deal on some gold today. That's exclusive to Wolfpack members only. So, and I'm going to try to do that, I think, at least once or twice a month, Tony, if it's possible.
Let's put you on the spot live on air, as we're on like 15 different platforms. What do you think about, we have a Lone Wolf package at $50 a month, folks. And normally 9 times out of 10, maybe 99% of the time, we're given silver because there's no gold. Almost no gold at 50. What if we did a half grammer? Could we put that in Lone Wolf?
It's impossible because they tend to be very limited production. If we ever had them come into shop, for sure, but at the same time, I would feel kind of bad if they did have something special, because we tend to pay up on premiums if we know that somebody has something nicer, right? We're not the a-hole store that's out there. We tend to be pretty nice with pricing. I am just waiting on the day. I actually hope that there's enough of a flash crash one day where I can fit the half grams in there, but those tend to be very limited. Mintage wise is what I mean by that. Very limited number of pieces out there. And a lot of them are actually sovereign coins or something specialty. And the premium's just too high. We have the best deal around on that stuff, but it's still not small enough to fit it into their
We're still trying. We're trying to do it. I know $50 is, and people ask us about gold, but yeah, normally on
we have been asked. My inbox blew up one day. I guess another podcast Tony was on went very well. But for some reason, everyone wanted goldbacks. And we were already working on trying to get a supply to the goldbacks. So that is something that we are still currently working on. We're speaking with a supplier at the moment on getting those goldbacks. And what I mean by that, guys, is the Nevada, Utah, I think maybe Wyoming, a couple of these states actually have currencies that are gold backed. I believe it's 1/2000th, it's something crazy, 1/2000th or 1/20,000th of an ounce or something. It's literally just a foil on the back of that note that weighs the amount of the denomination that's on it.
Yeah, gold back.
That is something we will be able to put into Wolfpack if we can make that possible.
Yeah, we'll be working on it. You reminded me. I've got to go do that. So yeah, Wolfpack.gold, ladies and gents. If you'd like to look at our subscription program, and we've got hundreds of members, and the more people that join, the stronger we get and the better deals we can get. And I'm even asking live on air, can we do that? We'll try. I think we might still try. Okay, well, we'll close out the show. Kinsey, any final thoughts?
No, I'm good.
Well, we appreciate everybody for joining us, and we'll be back next week. I usually do the David Knight Show on Thursday mornings and about 9:30 Central Time for about a half an hour. We talk, and then next week I'm hosting the David Knight Show. Will you come on, Kinsey? Yeah, I'm hosting on the 28th and the 1st. So I hope you come on.
Yeah, I will do my best.
All right, folks. Well, you can find me arterburn.news, wisewolfgoldandsilver.com, wolfpack.gold. We'll see you next week, if not sooner, on the RSS feed on the podcast. In a world of bulls and bears, be the wolf. See you next time.